Hello and welcome to Dial C for Cricket. This is Amay Petkar here, and today we will be taking a look at the probable playing 11 and the fantasy 11 you should be looking to pick ahead of the third test between India and England, which is all set to take place at the newly built Motera Stadium in Ahmedabad. At first, we take a look at the India playing 11 we should expect here. Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Rishabh Pant. We should not be expecting any changes in this top six top order here. If we look at the form, Pujara has been in fine nick. Virat Kohli scored some runs in the second test. Ajinkya Rahane has looked terrific since the Australian tour. And then Rishabh Pant. I mean, what else can we talk about Rishabh Pant here? He has been in sensational form and has also been picked for the T20 side against England here. So top six, there is going to be no change here. But if you look at the lower order, Akshar Patel, Ravichandran Ashwin, Mohammad Siraj, Ishant Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah. Here we have made one change, and that is of Kuldeep Yadav. Didn't really ball much in the second test here, and we do expect him to make way for Jasprit Bumrah, who was rested for the second test against England, which took place in Chennai. So just one change we should expect from the Indian team, and that is Kuldeep Yadav making way for Jasprit Bumrah. I know it is very harsh on Kuldeep Yadav. He has not played much cricket in the last 6-7 months. Even during the IPL, he hardly played any games for Kolkata Knight Riders. But test cricket being test cricket, you just cannot find a place here ahead of Ravichandran Ashwin. Akshar Patel did well in the second test here, which is why he retains his place. Otherwise, if Akshar Patel would have had a bad game or an off game, we would have expected Kuldeep Yadav to play ahead of Akshar Patel in the third test here. But now that Akshar Patel has picked up a 5-wicket haul in the second test, I don't think that he is going to be dropped here. So Ravichandran Ashwin, Akshar Patel, Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Siraj and Ishant Sharma, these will constitute your bowling attack for the third test at Ahmedabad. We now take a look at the England playing 11 here. We have left out Rory Burns here just because he had two bad games. He was not even part of the Sri Lanka tour where England wide for Sri Lanka. So Rory Burns sits out for us. And with that, Zach Crawley makes way. So Dom Sibley and Zach Crawley will open the batting for England. At 3, you will have one of Dan Lawrence or Johnny Best. So Dan Lawrence, very new in his test career, has only played 4 tests and hasn't scored much runs in the previous 2 tests against India. So we should just expect Johnny Best, so replacing Dan Lawrence at 3. Then at 4, you would have Joe Root and Oli Pope. At 4 and 5, you would have Root and Pope. Followed by 6, 7, 8. 6, 7 is kind of fixed. So Ben Foakes and Ben Stokes, 2 players would constitute the 6 and 7 slot in the batting order. As we move down, Chris Woakes or Stuart Broad. Now with England having this rotation policy in place, we are not really sure if they would be playing both of Stuart Broad and James Anderson here. So in the previous match, we saw Stuart Broad play and James Anderson was rested. Now with the ping ball test coming in, we are not really sure if England would still stick to their rotation policy or they would just play Stuart Broad and James Anderson together here. And if they do, Jofra Archer becomes their third seamer and Jack Leach becoming their only spinner in their lineup here. But they also have this wonderful player called Joe Root, who could also bowl a few overs if needed. So looking at the bowling attack, Jack Leach, Jofra Archer, James Anderson, Stuart Broad and Joe Root. This would be my bowling attack here. Obviously, we should not consider Joe Root as a bowler here, but still with England playing just one spin bowler with Moeen Ali flown back to England, I don't see Dom Best playing. So it will just be Jack Leach being the lone spinner in the England attack here. Moving on, we now take a look at the fantasy 11 you should be looking to pick for the third test here. So the fantasy 11 constitutes players of both India and England, starting off with Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Cheteshwar Pujara. Now with England openers out of runs in the first 2 tests, I don't see any of them featuring in the fantasy 11 for any team in the world here. So Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Cheteshwar Pujara would be my top 3. At 4 you would have Joe Root, and then followed by the Indian captain Virat Kohli at 5. Obviously, you could also have the option of picking Ajinkya Rahane, even he has been among the rungs. But then the way fantasy cricket works, you just cannot have everyone. Even though you like everyone, you cannot have everyone. So, we'll have Virat Kohli, we'll have Joe Root. We have not selected Ajinkya Rahane here, though he does deserve a place in the fantasy 11 here. Followed by which Rishabh Pant will be our keeper. He has scored a hell lot of runs during the Australian tour, and even in the first 2 tests against England, he looked in really good touch. So Rishabh Pant is our keeper. Followed by which we will have Ravichandran Ashwin, which is a no-brainer. We just cannot move ahead without Ashwin in the fantasy 11. So Ravichandran Ashwin and Akshar Patel would be our 2 spinners. You could also have the option of picking Jack Leach, given that he has looked good and has picked a lot of wickets for England in the past and has looked decent in the current tour of India here. So Jack Leach could be another option instead of Akshar Patel. But then if you're looking at the all-rounders role, we only see Ben Stokes here. So Ben Stokes occupies the all-rounders role, followed by which Ravichandran Ashwin and Akshar Patel are our 2 spinners in the lineup here. After which we'll take a look at the pace bowlers. We have gone in with 2 pace bowlers here, James Anderson and Jasprit Bumrah, or it can be Stuart Broad and Jasprit Bumrah. Either one of the pairs. Jasprit Bumrah is a straightforward pick, there is no doubt here, but you could also have Ishant Sharma in place here. With the England, as I spoke about the England rotation policy, James Anderson and Stuart Broad, we are not really sure if both of them would feature in the 3rd test or it would just be one of James Anderson and Stuart Broad. So this is much to see what England decide to do here, if they would play either one of James Anderson and Stuart Broad, or they would not stick to their rotation policy and play both Anderson and Stuart Broad here in the 3rd test against India at Ahmedabad. Well, this is what we think would be the probable playing 11 and the fantasy 11 you should be picking. Do let us know in the comments below what should be your playing 11 and the fantasy 11 you would be looking to pick for the 3rd test here. Till then, this is Amay Petkar signing off, and I'll catch you next time.